Hello and welcome back to Disc Review. This is the show where we talk track by track about the good and the bad of different albums. And today, Matt, why don't you introduce what album we're talking about, because this is kind of your bread and butter here.
Yeah, I mean, the 1975 is my favorite band, and when we started this, I knew I wanted to go through all their records, and here we are on record number 3. I became a fan of this band after they dropped their second album, so I wasn't quite there for the release of that, but I was here for the release of this album, so got a lot of memories attached to a lot of these songs coming out, and just the entire album as a whole. I think a little intro into my thoughts on the album. I think this is a great album. I have a lot of good things to say. I don't think it's a perfect album. And this is kind of a problem I've said with a lot of the records, is like there might be a little too long. I might trim off a couple songs that I don't think are as good, but looking at the best songs on all of the records, they're always really, really good to me, and just insanely strong, and overcomes that one little issue I have with some of the records. But yeah, I have plenty to say here. Anything you want to say to intro this?
Yeah, I do. The one thing I wanted to mention before we started is, like you said, this is the third album we've covered by the 1975. This one, by the way, is called A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships. And the kind of the through line I've had with all the other two albums that you've shown me by the 1975 has been, like, I'll give it a good score, right? Because I recognize that the songs are good, that it has high production value, but I'll also, usually add the caveat of, I think it's good, but it's not really my style. But with this album, I think I can confidently say I actually like it. Like, I really do. And so we'll talk more about what I like about it. Yeah. But I do have to say that you're exactly right. The one thing that I think holds it back is it's so long, and they're all so long, which is good and bad. It's great for people who just want more 1975. It's bad for casual listeners who are just trying to get into it. It's kind of overwhelming. But why don't we jump into the first song, and you can tell me what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, we're back to their their title song. This rendition is a little more piano, a little more acoustic feeling than their like really overproduced, grand, intentionally so, but song they had on the first two. But this one might be my favorite. I like this version a lot. I think it's got a lot going on that's really interesting, and it's the same song, so I don't have much to say there, but I think this is a good rendition of it.
Yeah, what an interesting concept of redoing a song at the beginning of each album. I think it's very interesting. I think if I'm it's hard to hear exactly what's happening, but it kind of sounds like this one is a mix of two layers. One layer is them kind of doing like a rough outline of what they want it to sound like. He's like playing the piano, and it's like kind of grainy and not a very high production recording. Yeah. And you can kind of hear them talking in the background, like, oh yeah, that's good. And like you can hear like pens clicking, like they're writing notes. And then over the top of that, they'll play very intense and dramatic vocals, which I thought was a cool contrast.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I mean, I don't know if this is intentional. You could take it as kind of like a lead-in from where we left off on the last record, where it was also kind of this felt like you were in the room with them kind of feeling on that last song. So, and here we are coming back into that space again, like you said. And I think my favorite part about this rendition is, how it's like, it's just kind of subtle, and you kind of know what the song is, but it hasn't quite, and then it just full force hits you with, right, you said, these insanely cool sounding vocals. Right. And it just keeps that piano going. This was a good version of that song. And just for the whole record going forward, just want to talk about, like, this was their first record that they produced themselves. I'm sure they had a little help, but it was kind of a big thing for them of, like, we're not going into the studio with the producer anymore. We're going to do this ourselves. The drummer and, the singer are, really big into music production and this was like a big thing for them. So I think that's why this record and the next one were both they seem very similar. They're also part of technically the same era of music. This was originally going to be one album, and then they did decide to split it into two. And that's why these two kind of sound similar, and also why I think this one does sound different than the last record a bit. I can tell, just some things that the producer they used to work with did a lot isn't as present here. And there's some good and bad to that. I think it really depends which style you liked better. But
yeah, well, especially for early musicians, like really just getting their foothold, having a producer who knows what they're doing and has a good sense of musical style, I think that can be huge. But also, like, as you start blossoming into someone who knows a lot about music production, you can kind of feel like it's holding you back a little bit. Like, well, I like their style, but it's not me, it's not 100% me. And I think that when bands start doing it on their own, it can be challenging, and it could even set them back, to be honest. But I think that in a way it gives you a truer sense of who the band is.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have a lot more freedom here, and they can go a lot more different directions. And I think actually probably my favorite strength of this record, and I'll talk about it a lot more, but just the songs can sound very different on this record, and that's actually something I really like. It doesn't feel like all the songs are the same on this, and this is probably the most I've ever been able to praise them about, is this record right here, is where every song is so different and stand out to me. Listening to this record is not going to be that experience where you can't tell the difference between one song to the next. That is not this record, and it's probably my favorite thing about it. But we'll jump into song number 2 here. Give Yourself a Try, which is the lead single off this record. And I remember when this song first dropped, I was kind of confused by the direction. This is some high-pitched kind of squealing guitar with one loop going over and over again, and a kind of just a drum machine sounding loop as well on the drums. But I absolutely love this song, and I'm really glad they picked it as their lead single. I think the lyrics are super clever, and all the lines have stuck with me for so long. And the chorus is simple. It's it's just the title of the song, but I don't know. The melody is really interesting to me, and is really memorable. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely a coming of age song. It's kind of about just learning and growing as you get older. And I think that anytime a band can write a song about a really positive message without being too like try hard and being too cliche, I think that's always really impressive, because they have a huge audience, and probably a lot of their audience is pretty young, probably in their teens to early 20s, and that's a time when you're really trying to figure yourself out. I mean, we're both mid 20s, so it's we're in that age where you feel like you know a lot until all of a sudden life throws something at you, and then you don't know anything. And then I kind of feel like this song is kind of just saying, you get older, you learn stuff, some good, some bad, but just, let yourself be part of the process.
Yeah, this is definitely a millennial self-reflection song, I feel. He's talking about issues and kind of just experiences he's had growing up and figuring yourself out. Absolutely. And I agree that songs like this either are way too optimistic and cheesy or way too bleak and sad. And I feel like this strikes a good balance of, like life isn't perfect, but it's going to be okay.
I love that about it.
Track number 3 then is Two Time. Very stylized name as far as what they called it on the album, but this is more of the upbeat, catchy pop song single, But
and they've got to have those for sure.
Yeah, it serves its purpose well. It's a fun song to bop around to. It's really catchy, and I think what I like about it is it really is pulling into what this concept album is about. Obviously, with that title, talking about the internet and how that affects relationships, and he contemplates on about that a lot on this record, and here it is with just a fun song about social media and jealousy.
Yeah, the concept of this album, when you get into how relationships develop online, is really interesting, especially because I've had relationships start online that did not end well, and I've also had relationships. I met my wife on Tinder, so it's kind of funny to think about that way. But the problems that it outlines are so real. That's for sure.
Yeah. Track number 4 is How to Draw / Petrichor, which I'm trying to remember what that last word means. I'll have to look it up.
I actually didn't even look it up. I have no idea what petrichor means.
Yeah, this is their instrumental song. Usually they have at least one. It's a bit longer, and it's technically 2 songs, right, with the 2 names. But How to Draw was a bonus track, I believe, on their last record. And I think they kind of just redid it and also added on a little bit more. And I think I like the instrumental. I sometimes am kind of in the mood to not listen to an instrumental and just want to keep going to the rest of the album. But as far as instrumentals go, this is really interesting, and I like the electronic stuff. At least on a production standpoint, I'm really impressed with what they're doing with the electronic stuff on the second half of this song.
Right. Yeah. I think that as far as instrumentals go, it was a little long for me. And I think it was it was fine. It wasn't the best or the worst instrumental I've ever heard. Yeah. I think it's hard to kind of say exactly how you feel about something that's just kind of there to help you feel into the next song. But I do like instrumentals. Like instrumentals, I think are, I think all bands should do them. I think they're just cool. It's just hard to find that balance of being like artistic and fun while also, you don't want to be too boring with it and have it stretch on too long. And I think this one stretches on just a little too long. Yeah,
it is a little long. I think, it must have been 2 songs and they decided to just throw it into one, and I think that's why I think it's so long here. But yeah, it's perfectly fine for me to have an instrumental fill in that space, like you said, where it doesn't need to be the most memorable thing on the record. You're just there to feel for a bit and just kind of get a vibe of the album, and that's perfectly fine. Track number 5 is Love It If We Made It, one of the more popular songs off this record, the lyrics of which are pretty decently well known if you know the band, with their very provocative and intentionally shocking lyrics in this kind of vaguely political-ish song, but which boasts a pretty interesting chorus and instrumental behind it with the guitar, and it's a fun one to groove along to. What are your thoughts on the song?
Yeah, well, those are my thoughts exactly. Is like when I first heard this song, I couldn't believe how obscene they can be while being such a mainstream band. I was like, oh my gosh. Especially with that the opening line, kind of. But I'm all about it, so I thought it was cool. It's definitely a powerhouse of the album. They always, something about 1975 is they like to kind of bend the rules a little bit and go outside their comfort zone, but they definitely have a comfort zone and they display it pretty well within their respective songs. They always have like 3 or 4 really strong pop songs that are just incredibly well produced and very not generic, that's not the right word, but it fits the mold.
Yeah, it's on brand for them, and they know it's 100% clear. They know what is their style and what fans want from them, but they're not going to just give not every song is going to be that. They're not just going to give the fans exactly what they expect. They're, they at least know that they need to give us something. And one of these songs is the one I think they gave to us, purposely. This is the 1970s song, you expect. But yeah, not every song is going to be that, and they're going to step out and do something new. But yeah, they always know how to rein it back in sometimes and make you feel like, oh no, this is the 1975 again whenever it gets a little too crazy, and make it poppy and catchy still. Track number 6 is Be My Mistake, which is, I was talking about this earlier, but I thought it was pretty interesting. This has some of the most streams of any song on the record, but is not a single. And this is the acoustic sad song of the record, and might be their best acoustic sad song. Really
this is
well done
my
guitar
favorite song on the record.
Yeah, and some great lyrics.
Yeah, I really, really liked this song. Like, when I was listening through the album, up until this point, I was kind of like, this is pretty on brand. It's good, and this is what I expected. This song was not what I expected at all, and it was a very welcome surprise. I thought that it was really beautiful, actually, and he sings it so differently than he sings most of his other songs. Like, their singer, Maddie, he has this very stylized voice, and in this one, it's almost like he dropped that, and he kind of just went, straight from the heart and very natural, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I think some of his best vocal performances are on this record, and I agree. He just sings from the heart on this one, and it's clear this sad song is this one's personal, and there's a lot to connect with on this song, and I think that's why it works so well. And I think a lot of their lines on this record are really clever, and I've kind of haven't mentioned any specifically. But Be My Mistake probably has some of the most clever lines where every time I listen to it, I just kind of have a new opinion on what I think it means this time, because it's not intentional. It's intentionally open ended. You're not supposed to know exactly what the situation is.
Yeah, well, I think that all of their songs are pretty ambiguous.
Yeah, it can work for however your situation or whatever you're feeling. It can adapt to this, and it can fit. It doesn't need to be just one thing. And
and well, it kind of seems to me, just only listening to it a few times, that this song is kind of about having a person that you love, but also someone else that you are lusting after, and it's like they both you want both things for different reasons, and it's causing a pretty big rift in your life.
Yeah, I mean, this is something, a lot of people can understand, where you can't be with the person you want, and you're trying to make it, trying to fill the void with someone else, but maybe it's never going to quite be the same. And that's a powerful feeling for a lot of, I've heard that theme a lot in a lot of different songs, but I think this is a really good version of that.
I totally agree.
Track number 7 then is Sincerity Is Scary, which is their first of their jazzy songs.
Right.
And probably my favorite of theirs of this style, which they've done even on their next record as well, kept that up. But this one is so unique to me, and since I don't know everything about music theory, I'm not going to pretend to know exactly why this song is so unique, but something about the way the drums are played and the way everything lines up with his vocal melodies, it's such a strange song to me, but in such a good way. I love this song.
Yeah, this one, I would say I didn't connect with it as much, especially I think with the jazzy vibe. It just wasn't, like, I kind of dismissed it a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do recognize how much talent it takes and how much knowledge it takes to write something like that. I mean, I also have little to no music theory understanding, even though I've taken college courses on it and have tried to study it for the past 10 years. I literally know nothing. So I can appreciate it when I see it, but it just wasn't for me, I think.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fair. I don't even think I connected with this song early on when it first came out. I was also kind of like, this is a little too weird, and doesn't have enough going on because it is kind of minimal in its production for sure. But I don't know. I think if you're a big 1975 fan, this song comes around in a big way, and that's definitely why I have that opinion of it. I just like a lot of the
it
lines,
obviously
and
does because it has so
yeah.
much streams. It's
Yeah.
it's got a crazy amount of streams.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I really like he gets on a good flow at the end where he's kind of just speaking slash singing at the end, and there's a lot of interesting little devices I feel like he uses to make this song as interesting as it is. It is not a generic boring song at all, and I think that's why it's really memorable to me. But we can move on here to track number 8, which is I Like America and America Likes Me, a very funny name for a really interesting song. I think the production on this is pretty well done, pretty interesting. This is definitely a high energy, you're here to rock out to this song, and he's usually yelling slash screaming his vocals here on this song. All of these songs were great seeing live, but man, jamming out to this song live went pretty crazy. That's definitely, I think, the role this song fits, and I think it does it well with some really clever lines about Supreme is probably the most memorable line from that song.
Yeah, something about live shows, dude. Like, a band will take a song that you don't care about and make it the most fun, memorable experience you've ever had listening to it live. I love that about live shows. Like, I can go. My wife likes very different music than I do, and she's taken me to concerts where when she plays the songs in the car, I don't care about them at all. But live, I was having such a great time. And I feel like I've never been to a 1975 concert like you have, but I feel like some of these give that same vibe where it's like, this song is pretty good, but I think live it would go crazy. And something that I did like a lot about this song was kind of this is the one with kind of the T-Pain effect, right? The auto-tune. I love autotune, dude. I think it's so cool, and I think it's underrated, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. He definitely, he grabs an autotune mic for a couple of these songs if he's doing it live, because he does want that part of the song to stay intact, because it is so crucial to the production of the song. It's definitely,
it's just a cool effect, dude.
Yeah, it sounds great, and this song is just a fun one to jam out to. But we're going to move into the middle of the album here, and kind of the second half with The Man Who Married a Robot Love theme, which is more of an instrumental slash interlude with a Siri voice telling a little story about something that's very on topic for the concept of this album, which is, developing a relationship with the internet and what that does to you.
Yeah, this one was very comical. I enjoyed it. Some of the lines that I loved were it's about a man who lives his life on the internet, right? And that's why it says The Man Who Married a Robot. It's one of the lines that I love is it says he liked that the internet would always agree with him.
Yeah.
And I think that's so funny because it's really true. Like, unless you're purposefully searching out new ideas, the internet will always feed you back what you already believe. And so it's like, the internet's always going to agree with you if you don't try that hard to branch out and understand new ideas. Yeah. Another line that I loved was it says, "Man does not live by bread alone," and then he died. Because it's kind of a play off of the line from the Bible where it says man does not live by bread alone, which is kind of saying like, you don't just need physical stuff, you need like a spiritual side, and you need like an emotional side, and like you need to fulfill all the sides of your life. And it's just so funny that it's like man does not live by bread alone. Oh, and then he died. He didn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, the internet wasn't giving him what he needed. It was just giving him what he wanted.
Yeah, I agree. I think that line works really well. And another way it works for me is all of the quote pictures you'll see on Facebook and the internet of just crappy quotes put on, pictures with a fancy font, and I just imagine someone looking at that as they're dying on the internet, seeing that quote.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But track number 10 is Inside Your Mind, one of the songs I think where the album starts to lose a little bit of quality. For me, this is not a standout song, nor do I have a very strong opinion on it. I think it's fine, but I'm not in love with it, I guess.
That's a pretty interesting take because I think this is my second favorite song.
Okay. Tell me what you think.
Well, I think that you're right that it's like this is a weird song. I won't say that it's not. It's not stylized like usual 1975 songs are. He does a different thing with his voice here, which makes it almost sound like a different person.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know, man. I connected with it. I thought it was good. And looking at it now, I mean, I have the Spotify pulled up here. It's only got 16 million streams, which is a ton, but not nearly as much as any of the other songs on here. So I understand it that it's not a fan favorite. But for me, this is a deep cut that hits home for me.
Oh no, I mean I'm pleasantly surprised with that opinion. I think it's definitely like I kind of am speaking as much as I can on behalf of 1975 fans in this podcast, but just like, this isn't their usual style. It feels a little too foreign, I guess, and that's probably why it has, a lot less streams. I'm probably part of that group where, we just didn't connect with the song as much. But maybe if you're coming in with a different musical taste, and this song could easily, be it for you because this definitely feels much, so different and off brand here. And it probably explains that, I think. But I mean, I don't hate the song. I think I like a lot of the other ones better on this record,
and that's totally fair.
And agree with a lot of the stream counts because I am such a mainstream, fan of the band. I think that's kind of why I have these opinions. But we can move on to track number 11. It's Not Living If It's Not With You, which is the song I was talking about. This is the 1975 put into a song. It's the classic 80 guitar synth bop. That's really catchy, and also I think is got some great lyrics and storytelling. Big fan of, is his name Daniel? He's talking about Daniel getting hooked on drugs and what his thoughts are, but it's kind of ambiguous, as if he's actually just talking about himself or what. But I like this song a lot.
Yeah, this song, back when you and I were roommates in college, I remember listening to this song with you, and it's for sure a standout song. It's got that very poppy element, but it's also got that heartfelt element, which is what I typically search for in music. And it's I think that it's got one of the highest stream counts on the record, if not the highest. I'm looking at them right now. I believe it is the highest.
The highest.
It's a good song. I enjoy it, even as a person who doesn't consistently listen to the 1975. I think that it's a good song. I think that it stands out on the album, and a lot of people connect with it.
I definitely, it's their style, and they knew this was the kind of song that fans want, and I'm always happy when they give us the kind of song they are absolutely the best at. They kind of own, I feel like, this genre right here of this song. But this song and the next song, we've talked a lot about how a lot of his songs are about drugs. This album, I believe the production of coincided with him going to rehab, and just a lot of those experiences are here on this record, along with this next song, Surrounded by Heads and Bodies, which is another acoustic. This one talking a lot more about that experience of his, with some heartfelt vocals. I don't think this one connected to me as much as their previous acoustic song, Be My Mistake. I don't hate this song either. I think it's kind of in the same tier as Inside Your Mind for me. What did you think?
Right. Yeah, I think, number one, I think that it takes a lot of courage and strength to open up about your experience with rehab and getting over drugs. And so that's one thing that I think about this song. The other is that I'm right with you where this one didn't really stand out to me. It was maybe it could just be that Be My Mistake was such a good song that I had
agree.
just written off Surrounded by Heads and Bodies. But yeah, it wasn't as good to me.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happened. I mean, it's right next to It's Not Living, a just, really good pop song, and we've already had a really, really strong acoustic. I think this one just doesn't stand out, and I don't have anything bad to say about the song, just that, it kind of got put around a lot of really, really good songs, and I kind of got drowned out for me, which is why I don't have a strong opinion on it. But the next song is Mine, which is another jazz song. This one talking kind of about I don't know, just it feels just kind of like a rant of just kind of his thoughts and feelings, and of course it does touch a lot on marriage and settling down. Seems to be a big part of it. I think this is a fun one to listen to if you're listening to the whole album, but not a standout to me, as in I'll click on the album to come listen to this one, but I won't skip it. It's a fun song to listen to.
Yeah, jazz is really just not my thing.
That's fair.
I think I did connect with the themes of the song, but it was just the sound I wasn't as into. Is this the one that had like the woodwinds in it, like the flute in the beginning?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, dude. Let me tell you what. I think this is probably it's not the hottest take in the world, but I think woodwinds are the worst instruments ever to exist. I've never enjoyed the sound of a flute. I think that they're just not enjoyable to listen to, but everyone has their own interests, and if you listen to the flute, I'm sorry. If you play the flute, I'm sorry, but it's not my thing.
I'm not usually a wind fan. I just didn't have much of it. I didn't really even think about what it was really. I was definitely more focused on just the piano. And yeah, you're right. This production is really minimal, and if you're not here to just vibe out to the lyrics, that's about all I could really connect with on this song, because it is just minimal here. But track number 14 is I Couldn't Be More in Love, which is a very 80s inspired kind of ballad song. I believe, if I remember correctly, kind of just a love song to the fans, I'm pretty sure. And
that's cute.
It's another one where I like listening to it when the album's on, but I usually, it's one of the more not as standout songs for me, but I still like it.
Yeah, it wasn't stand out to me either, but you know what? Bands should love their fans. I think that they should love them more. They give them everything, and I think not every band is that into their fans, but any band that loves their fans is cool in my book, because I was actually thinking recently that I want to make a video, which hopefully I'll put out soon, but I want to make a video talking about how you really shouldn't give too much of your time or money to artists, because a lot of them don't care about you. But many do, and that's great. I love that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're going to close it out here with the last song, which is I Always Want to Die Sometimes, which is a very clever name, and a song I love and think is one of probably the perfect example to me of what a closing song should be. I love the grand nature of this song. I think it closes out the themes of the record really well. And on top of it, it's an emotional powerhouse. What did you think about it?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. You're right. It's a great closer.
Mm-hmm.
It it touches on themes that have been talked about throughout the album, which I think if you're making a closer, definitely cap it off. Don't just make a random song. Make something that really gives the feeling of this is what you've been listening to, this is us, and this is the end. I think that the theme of this song, obviously, we talked about this before, that their lyrics are a little ambiguous. You can take a lot of meaning, different meanings out of it. For me, I liked the topic of, when you're going through something really hard, it feels like life sucks, and it always sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really just sometimes. And so I've felt that, I think we've all felt that. And I think that it's a beautiful message that we can all relate to, and we can all find comfort in the fact that we can all relate to.
Yeah, I agree. I think the message is really well done here. I think I've seen a lot of bands try and tackle a topic like this, and like I've said, either end way too bleak or way too optimistic, and you didn't really give any advice. But I think the advice here in this song is clear. Just survive. You're gonna make it through it. Keep going. And I think that's exactly what people do need to hear, because that is the truth. And I think this gives very clear, solid advice, and allows you to feel a lot, all the way through it. I think this is a song I love getting to listen to. And just to close out the record, I absolutely love this record. There are so many songs I listened to for a very long time. My only problem with the record, and this isn't the most egregious example, at 15 tracks, it's not their longest record. I believe it's their shortest. But yeah, there's a couple of weaker songs. I think you could tell throughout my, going through track by track, that I think probably could have been cut and trimmed down the album, and this would have been a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. But I do love this record, and that's the only problem it has in my book, is that not every song is to that same insanely high quality bar I've kind of set for this band now, knowing what they are capable of. But I'll give this record a 9.
All right. Yeah. I think that, man, I'm going to sound a little crazy here, I think, for a second. But as a person who is not really a 1975 fan, I think I'm going to give this album a 10.
Oh, wow.
I think that a 10 meaning that this is about as good as albums come.
Yeah.
No. Not to say that it's perfect, because no album is perfect.
Yeah.
There's never going to be something that's perfect. I think that a few of these songs could have been cut. I think, but also talking to you, it's like the ones that I would have cut, you were like, I love that song.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how could you cut those? I think that the reason I'm going to give it a 10 is because I don't really care that much about the 1975, but I'm going to re-listen to this album on my free time because I like it. And that's an enormous feat, to bring someone out of the usual genre. And, I listen to a lot of metal, and I listen to a lot of hip hop, and I don't listen to a lot of this, but this is good enough to where it's going to bring me outside of my comfort zone, and I'm going to listen to this sometimes because I like it, and I think that's impressive. So I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm afraid of giving a 10 number score, because you're right, I don't believe any album is perfect, but I agree completely with what you're saying of no record has every song is going to be standout. Every record I've ever heard has songs in the record that aren't nearly as good as their standout stuff, and that's fine. But as far as records come, I can't believe how consistent this record is. Like, that they can get this deep into a record and still have absolutely incredible standout songs is really impressive. As a fan, I want them to be the best they can be, and that's why I struggle with handing out a 10. If I've given out a 10 before on any other records, I don't remember what I've given out really to any of the records we've done. Listen, if I've given out a 10 before, I'd give this one a 10 too. But if I'm still afraid of giving out a perfect score, then I'll keep it at a 9. But I don't really remember. But yes, this record is probably their best. So whatever I gave their last record, this one is their best.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's probably meaningless to rate things anyways. So it's like,
I'm not a fan of
whatever
the
you give
score.
it is fine.
Yeah.
Because it's the best we can do as far as rating something, but it doesn't feel like when you're talking about art, it's very hard to put a number to it. So, and also obviously all the records we've talked about so far, we've given decently high scores, and that's because we choose records we like. That's the thing is
we're
I think eventually we are going to cover records that we don't like as much just to have some variety, but for the most part we choose records we enjoy, and that's why the majority of our scores are going to be high. But I think that's fine. It's arbitrary anyways, so
and I would be perfectly fine retiring a number score. It doesn't really mean anything. If you want to know my true opinions, then just listen to the track by track, because that's what people that's how they consume music. We're not rating literally every piece of art we see. But I do it because I think it's fun to do at the end for anyone listening.
It is fun.
But I love this record, and I was really looking forward to talking about it. I think this is a good example to me of, I have a lot of problems with other records, but I think this record does what I like. All of the songs are super unique. You never feel like you're listening to the same song over and over. Great closer, great opening, and a concept record, which I think we both always enjoy our concept record, and this is a great example of one. And overall, really happy with what they put out here. And we'll be talking about them again sometime in the future for one more record, and then but looking forward to doing more podcasts.
Yeah, I am too. I'm very much looking forward to the next 1975 record, which I'm sure we'll cover soon. I think our next review is going to be something a little different that I'm excited to show you, because I literally, when I think about it, I can't tell if you're going to like it or not, because it's so it's a little heavy, which is not really your thing. But it's also so beautiful. So we'll see what your thought is. But thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone who's joined us on this journey. If you enjoyed what you listened to, please subscribe, leave a like. We appreciate you more than you know, and we will talk to you later. Bye.